So what's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the ECU Master DET3 and the 7M GTE. Obviously it's not exclusive to Mark III Supras, however that's what I'm working with. So I've seen a lot of videos on the DET3, a lot of forum posts, a lot of Facebook posts, and how to set it up on a 7M GTE, and none of those worked for me. I had a lot of issues with it. However, I worked with Chris over at ECU Master USA with their tech support. Awesome guy to work with, and we were able to figure out what was going on with my particular unit. So today I'm going to talk about the setup wiring-wise as well as software-wise, since there's not a lot of good information out there, and hopefully this will be a one-stop shop for a lot of 7M GTE users that still want to use a piggyback. My reasons for using a piggyback are for me. Some people want a full standalone, but however it worked better for me. So if you look down in the description, I'll put timestamps for the wiring setup and the software setup, and then we'll go for a little rip. That way you don't have to hear me talk the entire video about this. So cool, let's get right into it. So this is the ECU Masters provided wiring diagram for 7M GTE. So keep in mind that this particular wiring diagram is for a post-89 Supra or a gray plug. However, I am using a yellow plug. The wires stay the same, but the positioning is different. So the only two wires you're going to cut on your ECU are the crank position sensor, which is NE, and your Karman vortex sensor, which is KS. You're going to snip those two. You're going to take the input from the KS wire and put it into pin 10 of the DET. You're going to tee off that same wire and go into pin 8. You do not need a resistor. A lot of people talk about needing a 2.4K resistor, a 2.2K, but it's not necessary. There's a pull-up resistor in pin 8. That is the whole point of the pull-up. And then out of pin 7, you'll go back into the original wire of KS in the ECU. For the NE wire, you're going to cut that as well. Take it from NE, from the CPS sensor, go into pin 9, and then you're going to come out on pin 5 back to NE. Of note, it is a bipolar signal, so you need to use pin 5, not pin 6. The only three other wires you need to tap into one of the grounds in the ECU. EO2 is what ECU Master recommends. I believe I used EO1, but either one works. And then you need plus B1 or plus B, whatever is switch 12 volts for the EFI for the ECU. So what I have written here is what didn't show up and what you need for a 7M GTE. And you need to ground pin 19 to the chassis ground or some kind of ground. That pin needs to be grounded, or you'll show a code 31 for your airflow meter, and your car will run super rich, it'll run like dog crap, and it's just not bueno. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the software setup. Okay, so we're in the car now. What you want to do is take your USB-A cable from the DET3 and go ahead and plug it into your laptop. And then you're going to go and open up the DET3 software, which is provided by ECUMasterUSA.com under their download section. In order to connect the ECU, you have it connected here. You have the program open, and then you'll go ahead and turn the ignition on. That turns the DET3 on, and it'll say, it's detected, do you want to connect? Or would you like to download tables and configuration? You just say yes. So under setup here, inputs and outputs we'll get to later. Tables is what we're going to be talking about now. So the biggest thing I recommend when you're tuning with the DET3 is utilize the stock airflow meter first, tune it how you like it, and then swap to map. It's going to make your setup a lot smoother, your tables are going to be a lot nicer, that kind of stuff. So for fuel table, you're going to pick frequency for load, frequency for modify, and correction 1 and 2 are going to be disabled. Ignition table is going to be, load is going to be disabled, everything else disabled. Actually, no, I lied. This is going to be frequency for the time being, everything else is disabled. And then PWM table, since we're not utilizing it, disable analog 3, analog 4, and then PWM table 2, disable analog 3, analog 4. Hit apply, okay. And then for ignition setup, we need ignition mode retard / advanced multi-2 signal. We're going to use a VR sensor adapter threshold for the ignition input type. We're going to have a maximum RPM for 6500. And then we're going to use number of signals per 720, which is crank rotation. You're going to have 24, and then 15 here. Now your RPM should read correctly when it's connected. So for frequency configuration, it's going to be modify frequency input nonlinear, fuel map nonlinear. For frequency minimum, it's going to be 1, maximum is 2000, base unit is 1, and multiplier is 1.0. Let's see if there's anything else here we're missing. No, not necessarily. So be careful of self-test. Self-test is for a bench test, so it pulses every single output on the DET3. I accidentally clicked this and all my ejectors went off and flooded my engine, so be very careful about that. The rest of the stuff is not really needed for startup. However, I'll talk a little bit about analog input configuration. So this is talking about what the DET3 is going to see from the analog input. I'm using an AFR gauge on my analog input 1, I believe. So it's a 5-volt sensor. So 0 to 5 volt is going to be my minimum and maximum value, obviously. And then you can also set up AFRs as well. But you can also do that through the scales configuration. So when you utilize this, you're going to go ahead and load what you need. So analog 1, I see here it didn't update. So I'm using an AEM AFR, which these are all coming with the software. You don't have to worry about downloading these. Analog 2, when it comes in eventually, will be a 5-bar map sensor. And then the rest of these we don't need. So we're just going to hit, I'm going to change this so it's not the same. Say GM10 sensor, okay, whatever. And then we're going to hit OK. So that is the setup to get the car started. Analog output's the same deal if you're using an output, which I am not. But yeah, so the main thing you're going to need are the ignition configuration and the frequency configuration for your car to utilize the CPS sensor and the Karman vortex sensor. And that is it. So once that is done and your ECU is connected, as you can see down here it says connected. I don't know if you can see that very well. You're going to go ahead and click this little black bar looking thing. Kind of see it, yeah. Sorry, my camera work is pretty trash. And it's going to say you are about storing settings and tables into the device. The device may not respond for a while. Please turn your engine off. You go ahead and click OK. Now everything that you've changed on this software is now uploaded to DET3. You can make on-the-fly adjustments, but as soon as you turn off the car, it's going to forget everything. So that's the main thing you need to do. So once you click OK, that's it. Everything is going to be set to 0 on the fuel table. That is because you're not modifying any signal that it sees, so it's going to run as it did before you install the DET3. And then you can also, same thing with the ignition table, it'll adjust itself unless you change it. So just to prove that, we're going to go over to our log window here and show you that it starts. So we're in neutral, obviously. Here we go. So once it's running, you see frequency in. That's the Karman vortex sensor in and what it's sending back out, which is the same. So 0 means it's running stock. Currently in cold loop, or open loop, sorry. So it's just going to have that stock value of about 60 to 75. Yeah, so let's go for some rips.